This is a continuation of why we should be so much more. In the last episode, I looked briefly at our shortcomings in being our potential, caring for our children, and our overall educational system. This episode, I'll take a glimpse at our medical system, crime, corporate manipulation, and the U.S. government structure. According to the CDC, the U.S. expenditure for medical care is $3.5 trillion per year. But our performance is poor. Hospital-caused deaths, accidental pharmaceutical deaths, and misdiagnosis account for hundreds of thousands of deaths in the U.S. every year. All this money spent, and we rank low among developed countries in virtually every health statistic. Grim for a country that likes to believe it is very advanced and civilized. Is this really the best we can do? Is this really acceptable? Our world has little understanding about our brain, our body, and nothing of the code that drives it. We are not very good at fighting illnesses. Depression is rampant, and other forms of mental illness are common throughout our world. Schizophrenics in large numbers roam the U.S. streets, homeless. Our message is clear. If you are born with faulty genes, we're not going to help you, or, if you're lucky, help you very little. Imagine if we did. Imagine if we didn't accept such a primitive medical system. We spend more as a country on even just one of many of our favorite unhealthy snacks than we spend in total on the research of mental illness. One of medicine's big faults is the greed of it, the greed of pharmaceutical companies, the greed of some of the doctors, and the greed of hospitals. But we allow this to happen. If we instead pursued a medical system that would better serve us, we would be in far better health. A better system should also be far less expensive. Instead, our health is dictated to us based on profit. If profit is the driver, then it seems to make sense that the medical system wants us in poor health. A market of good general health will not make for a good business model. COVID-19 has killed around 1 million Americans and at least 6 million worldwide. Have we asked how we can prevent this? We have been fortunate that we haven't been through something like this for quite some time, but yet we are not demanding that we understand how to keep this from happening again. What are we going to do the next time this happens? Nearly nothing, judging by the conversations I am hearing. What if the next one is more deadly? What if it causes far more permanent symptoms, causes harmful changes in our DNA, or kills tens, even hundreds of millions? You can almost be assured that we will not be well prepared for it. Why? We should demand that we are prepared. Crime statistics are the best that they have been historically, but still horrific. According to a USA Today article, more than 400,000 are murdered worldwide each year. The U.S. has 4 of the top 50 cities with the highest per capita murder rates in the world. Tijuana, the twin city of San Diego, has the highest per capita murder rate. Do we care? The World Health Organization lists 800,000 deaths per year from suicide. Something like 1 billion people were murdered by war in history, 100 million last century alone. Most of us never ask why people murder. Because they're crazy, one might say. That answer doesn't take us anywhere. We should go deeper. Psychologists or neurologists may ask the right questions, but there needs to be a deeper understanding of why, and a far bigger plan to stop it. I may do further research for a future episode, but I've read such things as a detachment of nerves in the frontal lobe from being hit by their parents in the forehead is common among mass murderers. This is obviously a very complicated question, but there are answers as to how to decrease this substantially. The U.S. has the highest percentage of its population in prison, of any country in history. Are we a role model in doing this? I suppose if it worked, then one could effectively argue this is the solution. But we are still a very violent country. Our penal system costs the US more than $100 billion every year. Some suggest the total expenses are actually much, much higher. Isn't there a better way? This should not be a world still stricken with war. We have an intolerance of beliefs which can differ at times in just the slightest, but yet lead to war. We are focused as a species on destroying one another. We repeatedly allow leaders to stir us up into a rage, acting not in our own interest, but in theirs. This is also the path the US is taking with internal divisiveness. As I understand it, corporations are obligated to be as profitable as they can. Otherwise, they are subject to being sued by their shareholders. This can mean that it is a corporation's legal obligation to make decisions only in the direction of profitability. Excessive death, items causing poor health, and destruction in the interest of profit is perfectly acceptable. Why do we accept this? We still create ads to sell cigarettes to our children. We develop food which, when consumed, results in a slow, painful death. We engineer products aiming at the addiction portion of our personalities. We create TV shows, again capturing addictions of our personalities. Some of the most talented mathematically spend their time writing algorithms, mathematical equations designed to manipulate and take advantage of humanity, such as answering the question, how can they best develop internet platforms to cause the greatest addiction? We've created a society incapable of resisting this. This works by gathering every bit of data possible, even misleading you to provide data to be used against yourself, then determining how or where you are weak. They know when you are vulnerable, when to hit you with a specific ad, causing you to purchase something you would not otherwise purchase, or to watch something you wouldn't watch. This will only intensify and become more efficient over time. My father often says, a fool and his money, or it could be said a fool and his time, are easily parted. While that may be true, but why do we raise a nation of fools? We use some of our very best scientists to create foods which only contribute to our early deaths. That's not intentional, just more profitable. According to the World Health Organization, over 8 million deaths occur per year related to smoking, and smokers kill well over 1 million a year with secondhand smoke. Death from bad diet is much worse, particularly bad in the US. Both smoking and poor diets contribute to long and painful deaths. They kill slowly. Natural deaths, or when engaged in good health, tend to come quickly, with little to no suffering, and small comparatively in medical expense. There are also quite a number of chronic health problems caused by smoking and poor diet, which don't necessarily cause an early death, just suffering, and of course are expensive medically. We as a society have decided that it is acceptable to torture ourselves, our fellow human beings, in the interest of profit. Our health expenses as a nation are staggering from this. We even promote this and then have to pay the bill while others get rich by this creation. If it gives some of us prosperity, then it's all good. We as a society will lock someone up when they take another's life away quickly, but when we torture them to death over a long period of time, this is acceptable. But of course, it should have profit to it. Then it's to be admired. We have allowed corporations, advertisements, and media to tell us what is important to us. We are told we must compare ourselves to others in everything and do it better. You can cheat, lie, outwork, outthink, cause harm, but just do it better. Make sure you have a nicer car, nicer house, nicer clothes, more expensive things than your neighbors, your peers. The old expression of keeping up with the Joneses, if you listen to corporate America, is our greatest purpose. There are many who believe the government is quite inefficient and that they waste a tremendous amount of money, particularly the U.S. government. I agree, but how is it we allow the government to be inefficient? Why is it inefficient? We can make anything efficient, but again, we need to ask the right questions and change the variables. One way to guarantee you won't get what you want is continued and enhanced divisiveness or increased separation of ideas. The only thing divisiveness does is to bring fame to those that promote it. It is about their agenda. It is an easy way to increase power and develop an army of supporters. History has provided countless examples of divisiveness not obtaining the objective or bettering the life of the followers. If you want to obtain your objective, the best way is to lessen the divisiveness. You may not get exactly what you want, but you will come far closer. The American Constitution was formed nearly 250 years ago. There were new insights as to how to structure a government. This was the result of great creativity, but also influence from the Magna Carta, the writings of people such as John Locke, Thomas Hobbes, Charles de Montesquieu, and others. The political structures of ancient Greece, Rome, and some other countries served as influences as well. But we have not continued to ask how we can improve it. Should we not strive to improve? Do we really believe that our founding fathers created a perfect system? Ingenious? A masterpiece? I'll agree, but perfect? Where could we be if our forefathers had gone about things differently? What if they had asked more questions on what we can be? The only ones who did typically did so or as a reaction. The system has been lauded and copied from around the world. We have politically developed in a defensive or reactionary way. That is, we didn't want to be treated as the British had treated us, but we didn't ask the offensive questions, which are what is it we can be and how. I'm not suggesting to change it, but to add to it. If we as a people did the right thing, we wouldn't need the government expenditures of police, courts, unions, attorneys, and other regulatory systems. This comes from societal corruption. The problem is the greater the societal corruption, the greater the governmental corruption. Thus, a more chaotic, dysfunctional society. The next episode will be on being left behind and the developing misanthropy. Please subscribe and like the channel. Thank you so much for watching, and see you in the next episode.